Every morning is an opportunity to connect with Jesus. Whether you're looking to get started or looking to grow more, DDPC is for you. Join us as we connect with Jesus together.
Here you go. Welcome, everybody. Good morning to Daily Devotions with Pastor Chris. Today is DDPC episode 721. It is absolutely a joy to be on with you today. So, another rainy morning here in the great state of Connecticut. But I can't complain because we had an amazingly hot, warm, sunny summer. So I guess we kind of need the rain, but anyway, good day, and it's a good day to be alive, and it's a good day to just be together in this global community that we call DDPC. So thank you for joining on with us today. Before we jump into the lesson for today, just a reminder that this coming Sunday, we are at the Heritage Hotel in Southbury. We'll be celebrating our annual missions conference, and so we have a terrific schedule and lineup of speakers for our banquet. And if you want to be a part of that banquet, and I hope you do, I hope everybody will come out. I hope that we have a seating and a food problem. That's my prayer, and not really my prayer, but I do hope that you will all make every effort to come out and be a part of the missions banquet. And that'll be at 6 o'clock at night. It's free, but we do need you to RSVP. It's just so that we know how many people are coming. But main service 9:30 in the morning. That will be at the hotel, not at church, at the hotel. And then, of course, the banquet that evening at 6 o'clock. So it's going to be a great night, and I hope that you will join us and be a part of that. Excuse me. In the meantime, we got a lot of you jumped on here today, and I will say a quick hello to those of you who can hang out afterwards, and we'll just say hello at that point. But men's group starts this week on Tuesday, so all you guys, hope that you can join us for that. Kid Next Gen starts this week as well. So for all of our Rangers and Girls Club, that will be beginning on Wednesday, 7 o'clock. So hope that you can make it to all that. All right, that's all the commercials for this morning. Just give you guys a couple minutes to log on. And here's the question I have for you this morning. Do you ever feel like you're the only one? Do you ever feel like you're the only person in your sphere, whether it's at work or at home or in your friend group? Like, do you feel like you're the only one that actually is trying to live for God or even cares about God at all? You're the only one that has any understanding of the Bible, that has any filter on their morality, the only one that seems like they're trying to do the right thing. Do you ever feel isolated in that way? You know, that was a struggle that I had in high school. And even though I went to the Bible Belt, and I grew up in the Bible Belt of Oklahoma, and I went to a strong church with a wonderful youth group, there were times in my high school where I felt I was the only one. And and I would see some of my friends who would come to youth group, and they would worship God, but man, they would get to school and they acted just as horrible as everybody else. And so the reason why is because the devil is the prince of the power of the air. That's what Jesus titled him. When Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, they handed the title deed of the earth over to the devil. The devil has control on this earth. For now. Jesus is going to come and establish a new heavens and a new earth after a 1,000-year reign. But until then, the enemy has a foothold, and he has the upper hand when it comes to the temptations in this world. And so that's why he was actually able to tempt Jesus, or try to attempt to tempt Jesus, and when he was in the wilderness, and offered him all the kingdoms of the world, because They were his to offer at the time. So, but the because of that, we are surrounded by evil. It's around. We are light in a dark world, and it is dark. And we know this, and this has not changed. People are like, "Oh, it's getting so much darker." No, it's really not. It's we've lived in a dark world since the garden, and since we see the very first thing that happened was murder, right? After sin entered into the world, the most right away we see the Cain and Abel episode, and so anyway, my point is that we get into a rut and we think that we're the only ones and that we're stuck and that nobody else is trying, and it gets defeating. And sometimes we think, man, why do I even try? And it makes us struggle at times to live a righteous life when those that you associate with all the time have no concern for God whatsoever. And quite frankly, they don't have any respect for the fact that you have a concern for God. Every other word out of their mouth is foul, right? And you're just like, you just feel like you're being punched in the face. I have so many Christians, like people that talk to me as they know, I mean, just by virtue of me being a pastor, should tell you that there's a moral code that I follow, and yet they have no filter, and then just curse words just come flying. It hurts, man. It hurts my heart, and it's hard. But anyway, when we come into this place where we feel like nobody else is really trying, and when I felt like that in the past, I've always considered the life of Noah. And you'll see that, like Noah, God will seek out of the crowd those who are trying to be righteous every time. He wants to bless us as he blessed Noah. Noah lived in a very horrifically evil time. The whole reason that God told Noah to build a boat in the desert was because he had it up to here with their sinfulness. Their sins had risen to heaven, and God was just like, this has to stop. We've got to do a divine reset. And he literally destroyed the world. And and so scripture says in Genesis chapter 6 and verse 8, it says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was just a man, perfect in his generations, because Noah walked with God. And that's the challenge I have for you this morning is, man, when nobody else will walk with you, walk with God, because you don't have to do this thing alone. The people of Noah's day were so desperately wicked that God planned the most dramatic and complete and conclusive judgment ever recorded in the scriptures. And that was the flood of the whole world. And, but Noah was not lost in this crowd of sinners, and this, it's like this sea of sinfulness. And God noticed every act of Noah's righteousness. It was like an ocean of sin, and God found this one minnow that was doing the right thing, right? And not only that, but God provided a way out. He said, Noah, build a boat, build a boat. I love that new song. They play it to death on the Message, but I will build a boat, and I will build a boat in the sand where they say it never rains. I will stand up in faith and do anything it takes. And so the point is God asked Noah to do something so crazy that the people who already thought Noah was crazy now had proof that he was crazy. And the truth is that Noah was crazy. Not crazy by our definition of crazy like kooky, but he was so anti culture. Like the culture was just running in this perverse, dark, sinful, lustful path. I mean, in a full on sprint. And Noah's like fighting and just clawing his way against the grain. And they're all like, come on, Noah, what are you doing? Why are you such a nerd? Why are you being like this? And then he starts building a boat in a desert, and she's like, oh, crazy Noah out there. And it wasn't like, I mean, this took like decades. He was building this thing. And so but this was his act of obedience, as God was, hey, if you're on the Facebook stream, and excuse me, and you're watching the chat, I'm going to have the guys fix it today. But man, there is the Cornerstone automated links are going bonkers like crazy. So I saw, I mean, literally it's probably listed 100 times in here. So I apologize for that. If you're seeing that, you may not even see it. The last person I see here is Timothy Jones, and he says, God is in charge always. And then about 50 times as the host comes on. So that's all automated, and I didn't do it. So I apologize. All right. But anyway, let's jump back into Noah. So Noah had chosen to live uprightly before God, despite what everyone around him was doing, and God noticed. And there may have been times when Noah wondered if it mattered if he lived a righteous life, since nobody else was. Maybe he wondered, what's this all for? Am I missing this? Did I not hear from God? Is this like something just in my head? Yet he continued in his persistence. He continued in righteous living, and it saved his life, and it saved the life of his family members. And so no matter how, I want to encourage you, no matter how ungodly, no matter how dark, no matter how anti-Christ the environment you may be in, understand that God will always find a way, and he will always find you, and he will always walk with you. That I love that passage says Noah walked with God. Noah lived in perhaps the most wicked age in history. I mean, there's only twice that we see God destroying whole nations. We see Sodom and Gomorrah that were destroyed because of their sexual impurities, their sexual immoralities, which had just stunk so high to heaven that he just eradicated those whole towns. And then, but that was that. And then the wickedness of the world that God had to reset the whole thing. And so this is perhaps the most wicked time in history. And we read about all kinds of wickedness in history. We read about, temple prostitutes. We read about child sacrifice. I mean, that just blows my mind. And so no one worshiped God. Nobody. All the people worshiped was idols, and they pursued their own pleasures. Noah's neighbors were evil. Every person that he was around, every time he had to go to market, he was dealing with demonized people. And they were there. They were everywhere. They were on the streets. They were in the public gatherings. And they ridiculed everything about God, and they made fun of Noah, and every temptation imaginable was abundantly available to Noah, and nobody would judge. Smoke this, drink that, go here, be with that person, live however you want to live, and it would be applauded and supported. It was normal. How oppressive such an environment would have had to been to a righteous person. But still, God was gracious to those who would choose righteous living. Let me give you a couple of verses here today. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 3 says, "But the Lord is faithful. He will establish you and guard you against the evil one." In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, it says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for the good, for those who are called according to his purpose." Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God, and I will strengthen you, and I will help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And finally, Psalm 138, verse 7. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve my life. You stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand delivers me. And so I just want to encourage you. You know, the Bible says that Noah's testimony was that he walked with God. He walked with God no matter what. And because he did, when everybody else was drowning, Noah was floating. He was riding high. He survived and he repopulated the earth. So as you start this week, and maybe you feel like the only breath of life you get is on Sundays for those few minutes, let me just encourage you at the beginning of this week that's maybe a sea of darkness in front of you. Please know that God is with you. He never leaves you. He never forsakes you. Those are Jesus' final words to us before he ascended into heaven. Matthew 28, verse 20. Am I teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you? And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Jesus is with us. His Spirit lives within us. And the great news is that you're not the only one. There are lots of people who are living life just like you are, and they're trying to do the right thing. And sometimes we just need to change our friend group. You know, I was talking to a couple of guys at church yesterday, and they had just kind of found each other at church, befriended one another, and have been hanging out. You know, they do a little fishing. They do some of this and some of that, and they do ministry together, and they just have found camaraderie and a friendship, you know, with one another, and it's strengthening them. And so, but at the same time, they've had to let go, not abandon, not shut out, but let go of old friendships that they used to hold so tightly. So I want to challenge you today: walk with God no matter what, and God will help you build a boat in the midst of your darkness. All right. So guys, that's it for today. Let's say some quick hellos to Paula and to Athena and to Tom. Good to see you guys. Melissa, Tamara, Pastor Kyle Collins, good to see you. Diane Riley, God bless you. Janine, welcome. Sarah Carlack, Kate, good to have you on today. Jeanette, good to see you, Jeanette. Shannon, nice to have you. Shannon Schmidheine, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. Janetta Dobler and Timothy Jones and my dad and Rich Papsco and Carly. God bless all of you guys. Welcome today. Good to see you, Dawn Olette. Welcome. Excuse me. I have to scroll through all of my all of these notifications. There's some kind of a weird loop on here, but I tell you, it listed it about 100 times. So just kind of scrolling through till I can get to the rest of your communications. My goodness, there's a bunch of them. How about this? Let's just go all the way. Here we go. Tamara, nice to see you on today. Wow, that was it. That was the only other person that was on the list that I can see. Anyway, now it's starting again. So look, guys, that's it for today. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining on and being a part of this stream and starting your week off right. May the Lord bless you. May He strengthen you, keep you. May His face shine upon you and give you peace. So God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow.